No sooner did we publish our review of Arendal's 1961 bookshelf speaker did y'all immediately hit us up for a 1961 tower review. Well, ask and ye shall receive. Time to answer once and for all which is best, Arendal's 1961 bookshelf or the 1961 tower. The 1961 series are Arendal's entry point to the brand, and it includes a bookshelf, monitor, and a tower speaker. The latter is what we're reviewing here. The towers are a 2.5-way design that feature a roughly 1-inch tweeter and 4 5.5-inch woofers, 2 of which sit above and below the tweeter in an MTM style configuration. Unlike the bookshelf speakers, the tower has a rear-facing slot port, helping to give the speaker a reported frequency response of 39 Hz to 20 kHz. Right off the bat, the towers do have more bass than their bookshelf counterparts, but not enough to be considered full range. For true 20-20 playback, even the towers require a subwoofer. They are easier to drive than the bookshelves, but not what I would call super easy to drive. With a reported sensitivity of 87 dB and an impedance of 4 ohms, they can be driven by a home theater receiver. Just make sure that receiver is rated for 4 ohm speakers. The design and build are, no surprise, top-notch, so long as you overlook the grills. The cabinets are stout, well-built, and inert. One of the biggest surprises was their size. Looking at product images before their arrival, I expected them to be larger, but in person, these speakers are tiny, very similar in size to the SONUS FABER LUMINA 3s. When it comes to build quality and finish, I have zero complaints. The included magnetic grills are, however, a disappointment. Rather than one complete grill, there are 2 grills that combine to cover the entire face of the speaker. I suspect this is a cost-saving measure, as the grills are exactly the same as you get with the bookshelf and center speaker. They do the job, but in my opinion, take away from the otherwise stellar design. Despite being rear-ported, setup didn't require a lot of fuss. Thankfully, the port didn't cause too much interaction with our room. Positioning them about 2 feet out from our front wall resulted in the most even response from about 200 Hz on up. Though even with some space behind the speakers themselves, there was a small rise in the bass because of that port. This gives the towers a sense of more bass compared to the bookshelf. Now, Arendal includes foam plugs if you want to tone down some of the bass and effectively turn the tower into a sealed design. You just need to know that if you do this, the speaker's frequency response is going to get cut to 49 Hz, but it's not going to harm the mids or the trebles. So if you already own a subwoofer, you may want to think about plugging the ports for best results. With the tower sitting about 9.5 feet apart and towed in towards our listening position, we added the Arendal 1961 center, and we used our Klipsch in-ceiling speakers for surround and ATMOS channels. I demoed the system with and without a subwoofer, and I found that while the towers don't go subterranean, they actually have enough bass that you can enjoy music and movies at a high enough level without having to worry about pissing off the neighbors with boomy or bloated bass. But for the sub, we relied on our Klipsch SPL100 and the 3000 Micro. We used 3 different receivers, the new Marantz Cinema 50, Denon's X3800H, and the Denon X1700H to run the show. All 3 were more than capable of driving the Arendal speakers, but the Marantz Cinema 50 was by far my favorite pairing. So what can you expect with these speakers? Well, sound was focused and precise, but the towers have a bit extra body and some low mid-bass weight compared to the bookshelves. Doing a quick sweep 20-20 revealed a very linear response, one that looked nearly identical in our room to the bookshelves. From about 200 Hz on up, I doubt anyone is going to be able to tell these 2 speakers apart sonically. Below 200 Hz is where the tower surpasses the smaller bookshelf. Bass in the tower is boosted, whereas the bookshelf speakers are linear throughout what little bass they have. Sweeps aside, the only real difference I heard between the 2 speakers was a bit more bass out of the towers. Now, comparing the Arendals to the POLK R700s, the Arendals are going to sound smaller or leaner down low. Regardless, the 1961's bass is quicker, it's more textural and detail-oriented in comparison. If you add a sub, the Arendals can match and even surpass the bass performance of the R700s. Just know that you are adding another speaker and some additional cost to do it. The mid-range, its nears makes no difference, the same as the bookshelf. Even with the addition of an added mid-bass driver resting above the tweeter, the tower doesn't really have any more body, warmth, or weight. So you can expect the same neutral, detailed, and intelligent intelligible mid-range I loved in the bookshelf here in the tower. And speaking of intelligibility, I found the Arendal center to be just sort of okay, which is shocking because I found the 1961 bookshelf and towers to be really clear. The more chesty sound of the center, it just didn't really gel with me. I believe in my bookshelf speaker review, I said that I would get 5 matching 1961 bookshelf speakers and just call it a day. And now that I've heard the center, I'm convinced that is actually the best advice. If you're looking to set up a home theater with the towers, consider getting a single 1961 bookshelf to use as the center. Switching gears over to the high frequencies, the tower doesn't have a great deal of roll-off. In fact, both the 1961s roll off in exactly the same way and right at 15 kilohertz. Air, extension, and detail, they're high on the Arendal's list of attributes, though like with the bookshelf, you may find the Arendal's upper registers brighter, though neither speaker is fatiguing in my opinion. Like the bookshelf, the towers use Arendal's waveguide that surrounds the tweeter, so detail and dispersion is pretty great. When it comes to soundstage and dynamics, the towers aren't going to rob your associated equipment or source material of any of their soundstage prowess. The towers easily disappear in three-dimensional space and have very solid detail and definition between the speakers and beyond. Dynamically, like with the bookshelf speakers, the towers like a little bit of volume before truly coming to life, but from about 65 to 70 dB on up, these are captivating for both music and movies. Hopping aboard the comparison train, starting with the POLK R700s, the Arendals are more compact, making them, well, more small space friendly and easier to incorporate into a wider range of living spaces. I prefer the more minimal look of the Arendals to that of the POLK, especially when it comes to the feet. All that said, the POLKs are the more full-range speakers, which to me makes them a better value despite being the more expensive option. The R700's more mild top end gives the speaker a slightly warmer, smoother tone, which you may find sounds better with a wider range of source material, especially stuff that isn't, say, audiophile quality. If you have the room, the POLKs are still the budget speaker to beat, with the 1961s being a solid contender. The SONUS FABER LUMINA 3s are among the closest to the Arendals in both size as well as performance, with the LUMINA 3s having more top-end presence. The LUMINAs are more expensive at close to $2,400 a pair, making them less of a value compared to the POLK and Arendals, but their finish is second to none and, in my opinion, worth the splurge. Which brings me to my final takeaway. As good as I believe the towers to be, in my opinion, the bookshelves are the better buy. At $799 a pair, even factoring the cost of a subwoofer like the Arendal 1S, you're going to be looking at spending about $1,698, which is $1 less than the towers cost on their own. And this combo can do everything the towers can do and then some. Even factoring the cost of stands, the bookshelves may be the better overall package or deal compared to the R700 from POLK. Like with the Lumina 3s, the Arendal 1961 towers exist somewhere in this gray area. Not quite a value leader on their own, but also not quite enough to stand on their own for all types of music or movies. One of the things I'm loving about Arendal is just how they continue to give their customers a real taste for high-end audio without draining their bank accounts. The 1961 towers are great, no question, but for me, I think the bookshelves are the smarter buy. So that is it. That is now my take on Arendal's 1961 tower speaker, but I'm curious what you thought of it.
This one was pretty easy for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, if I'm looking at the 1961 series,
Okay.
I am 100% gonna go with the bookshelf speakers.
Shocked.
I know. Are you really? I mean, to me, there just was not enough of a difference in the sound to warrant spending more money on the towers, especially considering I think both require the subwoofer. You know, I mean, honestly, the bookshelf and the tower speaker, they sound the same to me.
Yeah, especially if you have a sub.
I personally, I kind of don't get like why there's 3 speakers in this particular series.
Ooh. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't heard the monitor, which I think is a little bigger.
It's like the top of the tower in its entirety.
But you know what? Now that you say that, if I think about all 3 of them, and considering the small bookshelf and the towers essentially sound the same, what the hell is the monitor doing?
Or you could make the argument, why even need a tower if you get a little bit more body out of the monitor, but still need a sub. This is the conundrum. This is the conundrum for a lot of people, not just Arendal customers, but just in general. And I had the same comment. I think we had the same discussion about the LUMINA series, like the LUMINA 2 bookshelf, great speaker, arguably the best value. LUMINA 3, didn't really see the need for it. And then LUMINA 5 was a whole other animal. Only in Arendal's instance, the tower isn't a whole other animal.
I would be willing to bet you a good amount of money that all 3 speakers sound identical.
No,
I would be willing to bet they do. So at this point, why would you spend more money on anything in this series? Like, just get the bookshelves.
Yeah.
You need the subwoofer
Anyway. Yeah.
It'll make placement easier.
You can wall mount the bookshelves.
I'm not doing that ever.
I mean, you're not going to, but I mean, you could. You could. So the people that are like, oh, the stands, you can wall mount the bookshelves.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, this was such an easy decision for me. Now, if we're talking about the design, just to be clear, like, I am a fan of Arendal's design language. I think they have a pretty good, simple, modern thing going for themselves.
I love the look of their speakers.
I like the slim format of the towers. That, totally on board with.
Yeah.
What I'm not on board with is that upward rake.
The little bit of a lean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't like that on any speaker. It's not just Arendal. It just bothers me when I see it. I'm just like, I wanna like push it back.
You want to tilt it forward. I want
it to be straight up and down. You know.
But you know why they do that?
I don't care.
That allows them to have a lower profile.
You forget about things like, I don't care.
Okay, but that allows the speaker to be shorter.
Again, I don't care.
I don't care, okay.
We're talking about visual aesthetics for me.
Got it.
And I don't like an upward rake.
Okay, all right.
The only upward rake that I can get behind is the Heresy 4.
Okay.
Okay, but it's squattier.
It's so low. If it didn't have it, your ankles would be having a great concert.
So,
all right.
So that's just another reason why I would go with the bookshelf. So, yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered that.
All right.
Now, comparison talk.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did I leave something off?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. You hit me with your comparison.
This is about me and what I think right now.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, one of the speakers you mentioned were the POLK R700s.
Yeah.
Now, in your opinion, you thought that the Arendal towers could, or maybe it wasn't the towers, but with the bookshelf and a subwoofer, that they could get close to the R700.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I personally think the R700 mopped the floor with these. And if you have an extra $500 with any of them.
Because I'm saying the bookshelf and the sub can come close to R700s, saving you on space and some money. And I'm saying that if you need the towers and the sub from Arendal to match or beat the R700s, then to get the R700s.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm saying I don't totally agree with you.
Oh, okay.
And that I think the POLK R700s mop
the floor. Okay.
With these speakers.
All right.
And in my opinion, if you have the extra $500 and the room to accommodate the POLKs, the R700s, for me, are the no-brainer. Plus, there's no dumb upward rake.
Okay.
Okay, but look, here's the thing that you didn't talk about, but we don't have them, so it's not completely a surprise. But I have to wonder if the POLK R600s aren't technically the better comparison, especially when you look at the price. They're within $1 or $2 of being exactly the same. But with the 600s, you get larger drivers. They're 6.5 inches.
Okay.
There's a similar sensitivity, but at 8 ohms, unless I'm getting the whole ohms thing completely wrong, they're probably easier to drive.
If they're 8 ohms,
than the towers.
Yeah, if they're 8 ohms, I don't know what the lower limit on the POLK R600 is, but if it's say 6 ohms or upper 4s, then they would be easier.
Plus, with the R600s, you can you can get them in white.
Done deal.
So seriously, Polk,
Done
why
deal.
are you being so weird with the R700 finish options?
Who knows?
Give the people what they want. Okay, so I've got one last one to throw at you.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to want to hear a comparison to an ultra budget speaker. I almost said mega, but I decided against it. Anyway, the POLK XT60s that we reviewed recently, everybody loves a good deal.
Yeah.
Those are like $500 for the pair. They're
Yeah.
kind of similar size format to the Arendal tower. So I'm just kind of curious what you would say.
Well, in terms of build, construction, style, and just general, I call it panache, the Arendal's all day. I mean, it's not even close. But it shouldn't be close for an extra $1,000. Sound-wise, I think the Arendals are better. Night and day better? That's debatable. I was really impressed with those POLK XT60s, and I have a feeling if you're willing to spend a little bit more and go up to, is it the XT70, which is the bigger one, that gap's going to narrow even more without you having to necessarily double your investment. Visually, pride of ownership, I want the Arendals. I just do. For me, you really get the pride of ownership feeling, that sense of high-end look when you step up to POLK's reserve line. But I get it. If it's about the performance and looks are a little bit secondary, or you're like, I want a competently built speaker, but I also can't afford to go crazy. That XT line, man, it's the business. It really, really is. And it shouldn't be fair to compare the two, but it is, as long as we overlook construction, materials, things like that. Sonically, even the measured in-room response of both speakers in our room, granted that every room's going to be different, not everything's going to translate to your room, but in our room, they were closer than they were different.
I felt like they're kind of similar, like I said, in form.
Yes.
The size, the
Physical
sort of
size, dimensions, yeah.
I think that the XT60s are, while clearly made of cheaper materials, for a budget speaker, they're still pretty nice looking, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Mm-hmm. I would, if I had the money in my budget, I would jump up to the Arendal bookshelves.
Yeah.
And even a cheaper sub. Like I don't think you even need to go with the Arendal subwoofer.
No, you
there
really
are
don't.
less expensive subwoofers out there that I think will do the job. So you could even have a more budget-friendly overall system.
Yeah.
By going that route. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was just a fun question. I thought I would throw at you.
It's a good question, and one that no doubt will spark discussion, because the truth of the matter is like we repeat ourselves week in and week out. Like, we live in a time where everything is just kind of hovering at good. And so now it's talking about degrees of greatness. And Arendal, great product. POLK, great product. There's just a lot of really good choices out there. All right. Well, that is it. That is now our review of the 1961 towers from Arendal. What did you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. And my question of the day for you, pretty simple. Do you agree with our logic? Would you do the bookshelf speakers and a sub, or would you spring for the towers and a sub and spend more? I don't know, but I am curious what you guys think. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Go ahead and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi left for you down below, know that that is a great way that you've continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And both of us, thank you very much for doing that. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that is it for us today. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.